Many of us know, with the kind of knowing deeper than thought, that the planet we live on is our mother. We call her Mother Earth. It seems that humans have told this story of the earth as our mother for a very long time. We see ancient images of the goddess and imagine, even envy, our distant ancestors' relationship with her. A bond that understood all things that issued from her as meaningful and sacred, that knew her as life-giver and ourselves as her offspring, forever dependent on her well-being. In a very physical way, it is undeniable that we rely on the earth as a mother. We are literally flesh of her flesh. We grow our food from the earth's body and eat it to nourish our own. We are embryos who will never leave our mother's womb. We build shelters of wood and stone, grown and pulled from the earth. We heat our homes, run our automobiles and airplanes and computers on the energy that comes from her blood and her soil and her wind and her waters. But the sense that we have of the earth as mother goes beyond this physical reality. We call our planet her. We give her a name, Gaia. In doing so, we demonstrate our sense that we are approaching a being, an individual, albeit one so vast and unfathomable that we must use our human imagination to relate to her. We must tap into that part of ourselves that reaches beyond the known and the knowable and into the mystery. That part of ourselves that is able to see and know beyond our five senses and is able to make sense of that. The Earth Mother, as felt, imagined, and understood by humans, has framed life in one way or another for millennia. Yet, over the past few thousand years, in certain cultures that have become dominant on this planet, the female aspect of the divine has been subverted. The earth became, in our imaginations, not a life like ours, but a machine to be manipulated. Not a mother, but an adversary to be conquered and controlled. And then, paradoxically, 48 years ago, out of this conqueror culture, from a machine shot from the earth into the sky, came this photograph. This photo, dubbed the Blue Marble, captured our collective imagination and brought the goddess into our understanding in a new way. Beautiful, blue, and green, and brown, and white, bright, turbulent, enormous, and tender, a globe floating in blackness, teeming with life, and yet so alone. So singular, our home, our mother, Gaia. 48 years ago, for the first time, we humans had a perspective on our planet from afar and her fragile place in the universe. We were challenged once again by this being whose scope we cannot fathom. For the first time, we could see our Mother Earth as an individual, as when a child begins to realize that her mother is separate from her, a being with her own intention, needs, and destiny. And now we find ourselves struggling to comprehend the devastation that is occurring on our planet. We watch ecosystems collapse and violent weather patterns wreak havoc across the globe. And the metaphor of the earth as our mother, the felt sense of this truth, makes us weep. how do we relate to this mother? How do we know her as a mother? How does she show up in our lives as metaphor and as reality? How does she shape our experience? There are beautiful times when it seems she offers us the most intimate love, like a moment spent watching bees move in and out of apricot blossoms. And at other times, we are devastated by her enormity and power, overwhelmed by her seeming rage and her indifference to us, her children. Lives and communities ravaged by flood and fires and hurricanes, the things she does to us, the things we've done to her. As I was working on this monologue, I was walking through an ugly industrial part of Round Rock, Texas, the area of town behind my Fleabag motel. From the map on my phone, I could tell that there was a park not far from where I was, but because of the roads and fences and the Texan attitudes about private property, I was going to have to walk about 3 miles to get there. I was surrounded by concrete and wires, a wide boulevard, and industrial emptiness, with meager strips of grass along the sidewalks. I found it hard to relate to what I was seeing as Mother Earth. However, if I softened my awareness, listened more gently to the life around me, let the blue sky beyond the wires and the play of the pink of twilight on the clouds call me and invite me into relationship with them. If I received the life that was humming and breathing through me, I could feel the presence of Mother Earth. She was there. A being as close as breath, yet so vast she is unknowable. Too large for our brains to hold, but contained always in our bodies. Like Gaia herself, our mothers are infinite, never fully known, but always within us, whether we desire that or reject it, and encompassing a million symbols and feelings, love and loss, understanding and confusion, care and abandonment. In every relationship between a mother and a child, a motherer and the ones they mother, all these feelings exist. The harmony and cacophony of the lives we create together. On this Mother's Day, I invite you to listen to that felt sense of the earth all around you and forever within you, to your sense of the earth as a mother. You may find that, like your own mother, she is not one thing but many. And it is in holding the many that you might find a sense of her being, a wholeness that cradles you like a mother.
Good morning. As for many of us, Mother's Day is one of those bittersweet celebrations that brings up a whirlwind of emotions for me. There are things to grieve over and things to celebrate. My first conscious memories are of grief. My birth mother abandoned me when I was 3. That loss took years to heal from. However, I also have the absolute joy of celebrating my relationship with my foster mother, Elizabeth, on Mother's Day. That sense of focusing on the positive is one of the many wonderful things I've inherited from her over the years. When I first laid eyes on Elizabeth, it was 1986. I was 16, and we were in a family court in Southern California. A random judge was deciding my fate. I had already been placed in one foster home that was not a good fit. Given the blessing of the judge, off Elizabeth and I went to learn about each other. We went to a wonderful Chinese restaurant, the first for me, and just one of the many, many interesting meals we would share together. We had no idea in that moment that we would still be together in a family over 30 years later. What can I say about my relationship with my mother other than sometimes the universe gets it right? We needed each other. I had already had a few maternal figures in my life who were sadly not up to the task. Elizabeth needed a daughter and didn't know it. I introduced her to paganism, and she led me to Unitarian Universalism. Almost 2/3 of foster children who age out of foster care end up homeless, in jail, or dead in their first year after leaving the system. I have no doubt that my escaping that dreadful statistic is in no small part because of the love and support Elizabeth gave me even after her job of foster mother was officially done. My sons are Elizabeth's only grandchildren, and they dote on her as they should. She has helped them so many times along the path to their adulthood as she had me. We would never have moved to Albuquerque were it not for her. She wanted a more stable, successful environment for all of us and made it possible. A PhD herself, at any point when someone expressed an interest in college, she was right there helping to figure out the logistics and the finances. Now, as she needs help in her later years, her grandsons are given the opportunity to be there for her. How precious is that? Oldest son is back in school again, thanks in part to Grandma. And in his spare time, he is helping her with the things like email and other mundane tasks that have become very challenging since her recent strokes left reading difficult for her. One of the odder things Elizabeth has lost has been her memory of her favorite foods. I get to reintroduce her to the many delightful dishes that she first exposed me to all those years ago. It's an adventure all over again and much needed in a time of difficulty for our family and especially for Elizabeth. She is usually a ray of optimism and hope, but this latest health issue has definitely taken a toll on her eternally sunny nature. It hasn't always been sunshine and roses between the two of us. There were squabbles along the way, and more than one opportunity to walk away from each other. Forget the Hallmark commercials and our idealized soft focus views of what love should be. Life is messy. Love is messy. Relationships are work, all of them. There are times when it's a choice to be in each other's lives, even in that primal relationship with our parents and our children. Fortunately, over the years, Elizabeth and I both made that choice repeatedly. Relationships are about who is there when you need them, who makes your life better with their presence in it, and who gives you an opportunity to grow into a better person. I find myself asking more and more in my life, WWED. What would Elizabeth do? When people say, I heard my mother come out of my mouth, I can only think in my case, how is that a bad thing? I am a better person for having her in my life. I'm a better parent for having her in my life. We often joke that we have so much in common that our ancestors must have crossed paths somewhere in history. Ultimately, although I don't carry Elizabeth in my genes, I carry her in my heart, always.
Let's breathe together.